Hey, you're not the first person, and you certainly won't be the last person to have to deal with a mortgage during a divorce. Divorces are sad events in the lives of so many of our married couples. Unfortunately, they happen. And when there's a house involved or future housing involved, it's something that has to be dealt with. So let's talk through the scenarios and give you a basic idea of what needs to happen. If neither of you own a home or you don't own a home together, when you're getting divorced, there's really not that much difficulty. Just keep in mind that each of you will have to qualify for a new home on your own. You'll no longer be buying with shared borrowing power. So you get divorced, you can each go out and get your own mortgage. Things get a little bit trickier when you own a home together. If you own a home together and you have it free and clear because you have no mortgage that's been paid off, again, this is not a very big challenge. The court is going to decide, or you're going to decide in your divorce decree, who gets to keep that home. That person is going to have to buy the soon-to-be ex-spouse out of the house, and they typically do that with a new mortgage. So if you're going to take the home and your ex-spouse wants their equity, chances are you're going to have to do what we call a cash-out refinance. Let's say your house is worth $400,000 and you're splitting the equity. You're going to have to do a $200,000 loan to pay that to your ex-spouse, and then you keep the house. Now, if you have the cash to pay that on your own, you may not need to get a new mortgage, but many people don't, and so they're going to have to get that mortgage. Now, let's assume that you don't own that house free and clear. Let's assume that you have a mortgage, and let's assume you both signed on that mortgage. Now you have two spouses that are joint owners of a home, but they're both indebted by that mortgage. So they're going to have to pay that mortgage off in order for one of the two spouses to no longer have that counting against their credit. This situation can be tough, especially today when your interest rate might be really low on that mortgage. Unfortunately, whoever keeps that house is going to have to refinance to get the spouse off the loan. The loan servicer is not just going to release one of you two from owing that money. If you're keeping the home, you're going to have to refinance that low rate to maybe a little bit higher rate in order to get your spouse off and maybe give them some of the equity in the house. Now, that's not a difficult refinance as long as you would have qualified for a mortgage by yourself, but obviously you're not going to get to use their income in that situation. If you sell the house and both parties agree to sell the house and buy their own homes, then timing is really the issue. Are you going to try to purchase homes before you've sold the existing home? If you sell the existing home first, again, not a problem. You've sold it, you'll each get your equity, you can go buy your own homes. But if one of the spouses wants to go purchase a home as they're moving out, and the other spouse is keeping the home or wants to wait 6 months before they decide to go buy a new home, then you're still going to run into that challenge of one spouse having to refinance the other out of the house. Now, there's one exception that could help you. If both spouses are on the existing mortgage and the divorce papers award the house to one of the two spouses, the other spouse can quit claim deed their interest out of the home to the first spouse, who then can assume the mortgage. Now, the other spouse will still be on the mortgage, and if a payment is late, it will still penalize them, but that spouse can qualify for a new home without their name being removed from the old mortgage. I know that gets a little tricky, so it's a conversation you really need to have with your loan officer. And it's not ideal for this spouse because their name is still tied to the mortgage of their now ex-spouse. The best situation is that whoever's staying in the house refinances the loan, pays off the old loan, and the now ex-spouse is no longer tied to the loan. So if you are one of the couples who are having to go through this divorce situation, you really need to consult with a mortgage loan officer, and you need to have that conversation as early in the process as you can, because there's going to be some changes and there might be some decisions that you make about what you agreed to in the mortgage settlement, or rather in the divorce settlement, that you need to know ahead of time. It's complicated. It's worth a phone call. Call Weber Mortgage today.